Facing rising inflation and a currency that's lost half its value in the past month alone, Sudan's transitional government launched talks aimed at resolving the country's troubled economy.
Our economy has been deteriorating for years, and it's reached its peak now. Citizens are bearing more than they can, which forces us, even though we're late in doing it, to look for sustainable solutions at home and abroad. At home, we need to know the causes of the economic crisis, because we're still trying to figure out if the problem is structural or administrative.
It was a shortage of fuel, bread, and high inflation that triggered protests in 2018 that led to the overthrow of Sudan's president a few months later. And it's these very same issues, along with the continued drop in the value of the Sudanese pound, that the transitional administration now faces. The coronavirus pandemic and widespread floods have weakened the economy even further.
In this conference, we should look back at the past year and get over its obstacles by using the experience to achieve the second article of our declaration. That article states, ending the economic deterioration and improving living standards of citizens in every aspect. That will not be achieved until we take advantage of our resources and making sure the Ministry of Finance is in control of all public funds.
Sudan's economy has been in a downward spiral since South Sudan gained independence in 2011. Taking with it 75% of the oil fields, which then provided nearly half the country's GDP. To save money, the current administration has lifted the fuel subsidies, which ate up more than a third of the country's budget, while keeping subsidies on other things like wheat and medicine. Reforming the economy is crucial for the stability of Sudan's transitional government and for its transition to democracy. But the challenges in making reforms are not just at home. The Sudanese government's been on the U.S. list of states sponsoring terrorism since 1993, which has contributed to its economic isolation by many countries. That lack of foreign trade meant little access to hard currency and made getting off that U.S. list even more urgent. After agreeing to massive compensation payments, Sudan had expected the matter to be resolved very soon. But then during his visit to Khartoum last month, the U.S. Secretary of State added the requirement that Sudan normalize ties with Israel. Sudan replied by saying the current administration did not have such a mandate and that the two issues should remain separate. Meanwhile, the Sudanese people continue to suffer the impact of being blacklisted.
We now have a crisis in transportation, in bread, in market prices, and it's all because of the state of the economy. We want the US to get us off the list of states sponsoring terrorism so we can develop like the rest of the world.
If I buy a kilo of meat 1 month, I can't do it in the next. If I get medical treatment 1 month, I can't get it in the next simply because the prices keep increasing because of the economy and the currency shortages. It's becoming unbearable for many.
More than 60% of the country's 42 million people live below the poverty line. The government says the conference is a first step in a long journey to revive the economy. Hiba, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.